You're listening to 89.9 FM in New York, WKCR. I'm Chaim Lazaros. This is Arts and Answers. Thanks for tuning in. That was a bit off of the Dandy Warhol CD, 13 Tales from Urban Bohemia. That's the first track on the CD, Godless. Godless is quite the appropriate track for the interview that we got tonight. Not to say that the people I've interviewed are godless, but definitely the character in the film that is going to be featured tonight is. The film is Choke, and it stars Sam Rockwell as a sex addict, and it's a very, very interesting and funny movie. It's also got Angelica Houston, Kelly MacDonald, Brad William Henke, and Jonah Bobo. It was written for the screen and directed by Clark Gregg, and it's based on the novel by Chuck Palahniuk, who's, of course, most acclaimed for writing the hit Fight Club. I had a chance to sit down with Chuck Palahniuk and Clark Gregg. This is Clark's directorial debut. He adapted it for the screen. He's written several screenplays before, but this is his directorial debut. The film comes out this Friday. It's in wide release by Fox Searchlight, so you can catch it pretty much anywhere. So be sure to check that out. So this is an interview that was recorded a few days ago in the Fox studios by myself. It's with Clark Gregg and Chuck Palahniuk. Just a little parental advisory for any kids who might be listening, including my little brother Shia. He's not a kid, but in Framingham. But any kids who might be listening, or any parents, there is some drug references at the end of this interview. So just a little disclaimer there. Anyway, here's Clark Gregg and Chuck Palahniuk about the movie Choke here on Arts and Answers, 89.9 FM in New York, WKCR. And writer and director and actor, Clark Gregg. And so who would like to start? I want just a brief synopsis of the film. What's the elevator pitch for it? Who wants to say it?
It's an elevator pitch.
An elevator pitch is just a 15-second synopsis. Let's just hear, what's this film about, if you could just sum it up on the elevator?
I'm picturing myself on an elevator now. Do I have to do it by a certain floor? I think that's why it is, right? That's why they call it an elevator pitch. Like, if you know the person's going to get out.
Imagine the music in the background.
That's actually a really good storytelling device. You've got to imagine that unless you keep it interesting, the person can actually get out at a certain floor. It's a complex novel and one that defies easy synopsizing, but I'll take a spin. It's the it's the story of Victor Mancini, a sex-addicted colonial theme park worker who spends his days living the same day in 1734 over and over again, and he spends his nights going to fancy restaurants where he deliberately chokes himself on food, then while he's choking, teeters into the arms of whoever approaches to rescue him, who seems potentially the wealthiest and most codependent, because he knows that they will want to relive their act of heroism by rescuing him again from various fictional difficulties, for example, gum disease, by sending him checks. He doesn't use this money to go to the pachinko parlor or buy beer. He uses it to keep his mother, Ida, in an expensive private mental hospital because she is increasingly demented and her memory's fading. Unfortunately, just as it started to really fade badly, she confessed that the lie she told him about who his father was exactly that. So his quest is to find out who his father actually is before those lights are turned out forever. This quest is aided and complicated by the appearance of her new and beautiful doctor, Dr. Paige Marshall, who can help him keep her alive long enough to get this information, but who complicates things because he starts to fall in love with her, which is not an easy thing to do, and certainly a less easy thing to act on when you're a sex addict.
Okay.
And that was without breathing.
Ding!
Did I miss anything?
Oh my God, that was just the first chapter.
Yeah. So let's go into that. This I just got the book, so I have to confess I have not yet read it, though I will. So I just want to make that clear to our audience if I do sound like an idiot. And so apologies. But let's talk a little bit about the adaptation. From what I understand, you could not have just taken this book and just made all the lines into a screenplay, and it would have been just way too much. Some things had to be changed, had to be left out. Tell me about the process of adaptation and what you thought of it and how you approved.
Okay. I would say that as someone who's attempting to adapt a loved novel for the screen, you're looking for a kind of formula. So I certainly spent a lot of time kind of reading interviews with people who've done what I consider to be sexual. There's the Freudian slip that always seems to happen with this book. Successful adaptations. And what you quickly come to realize is there is no formula that works for every book. That kind of the secret is you've got to let the book tell you what it's about as a movie. It's kind of, if you pay enough attention, it can whisper into your ear what it wants to be after it comes out of the chrysalis. It's like the caterpillar kind of like giving you some hint about what kind of butterfly it wants to be. And so that was really my job, and it took me a long time to do it. And fortunately, I had a novelist to work with who was kind of wise and generous enough to give me the room to do that, and whose only real piece of advice to me was, don't be too faithful, which I thought was just absurdly good novelist manners. So I ignored it and struggled for a while, and when I let it start to be its own thing as a movie, is when it really started to work.
Okay, and Chuck, give me your stamp of approval or air your grievances now. What did Clark do wrong?
I think people really forget that Fight Club really in the third act completely left the book, and that people are going to argue that a movie needs to be exactly like the book. Choke is much more faithful to the book than Fight Club was, and people still loved Fight Club. And I think in a way, the thing, however the story is told, the thing has to establish its own authority. That the movie will only have its own authority if it is significantly different from the book. Because if it tries to be really faithful, completely identical to the book, it's just going to end up being kind of a not very good copy. And there's a lot of movies out there that are just not very good copies of the book. Can you say Cold Mountain? And in this case, Clark had the authority, and he really made something that will stand not just as a film version of the book, that will stand as its own thing in the world. And I think ultimately people respect that a lot more.
Okay.
Did either of you work on Cold Mountain? Because I heard that...
You didn't see it, did you?
No, I didn't. It wasn't really great? Can you cut that part out?
No,
I'll think
I'm
of
kidding.
another one. I should have said Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. I should have said that one.
Yeah, you got that one in there too.
Oh!
You'll never work
Did you
in
like
this
the
town
book of
again.
Cold Mountain?
I didn't read the book, but it seemed like people were so passionate.
I loved it. I loved that book.
Oh. Did you see the movie? Mm-hmm. Did you love the movie?
I didn't.
Okay, so...
I had some moments that I loved, but it wasn't. I mean, I'm the person that I'm wary of with Choke because I love the book. I love the book so much that the movie could never do it justice.
Do you think the movie would have been better if they veered away from the book a little more?
Yes.
Okay, so you made my case.
So the movie, I mean, I thought it was very, very funny. I was laughing throughout the whole press audience that I was seeing it with. There were also a lot of laughs in the screening room.
Good.
From what I understand, though, you could have really made it a much darker, sadder movie. You could have really gone either way with it. You chose to make it lighter and funnier. Why?
Thank you very much. Because I almost cry every time I see it.
It's funny. People have different reactions to it. I felt it was very sad in some parts, and that it was very funny in some parts. And I just tried to make a movie that had room for both of those feelings. Certainly when it was a script, a lot of people said they didn't want to be involved or finance it because they felt like it was too dark. And I always thought, well, I think it's funny. So it's, the same jokes I like, maybe they wouldn't like so much. I think that has to do with, you get 10 people and you give them the same script to act it or direct it, you're going to get 10 different versions. And with that cast and with me involved in it, we were able to find some funny moments, but I think other people it might have been more sad or more silly.
Anything to add there?
Well, I think too there's something else about not creating something that people will readily, really, really love. And I think a good example is Heathers, but something that will stay in the public's mind for long enough that eventually, as public taste changes, it will accrue a much larger audience, and people will love it longer, forever, rather than liking it very much for a very small period of time and this thing being forgotten. So, like with Heathers, that was supposed to end the career of so many people, and it ended up being just a real classic.
Yeah, I knew enough at my age, and even though I'd never directed a movie before, I just knew that you always, when you try to figure out what other people will like, it never works. If it worked, I would do it. And I knew that the only real compass I could have is what moved me and what I thought was funny and what I found powerful in the story. And that, the tremendous responsibility I felt to a writer whose work I loved and whose novel I loved was to try to make a good movie. And the only way I felt like I could do that would be to just make the movie of this book that I'd want to see. And that if you do that, the best chance you have of the rest of the pieces falling into place is by doing that.
I did have other questions, but unfortunately, I think we're out of time.
Keep going until they come back in.
Keep going until they come back in. Okay, so then
Not the thought police. We'll fight them for you.
Okay, thank you. So then I just want to ask, like,
did I mention I loved Cold Mountain? One of the best movies of all time.
It's superb.
The main character, Victor. First of all, how did he come about? And that question is to Chuck. And second of all, how did you relate to him?
Okay.
So many of my characters, starting with Fight Club, are just men who don't have a clue about how to ask for what they need emotionally. And they have to sort of fool people into expressing emotion and allowing them in themselves to be expressive and have these cathartic moments. In Fight Club, it's the man who is being hugged by dying people who think that he's also dying. And in that context, he can break down and just have this complete weeping moment. And in Joke, it's people who really think that this man is dying again, and they save his life, they sort of resurrect him. And in that moment of being born again, they adopt him in this way, they care for him, and so he's fooled them into liking him. And it just seems like men really they can't ask for it, they gotta fool people into doing it.
Just before I get to you, Clark, I just want to just go back for a second here and talk about this whole choking in a restaurant, having someone, fall for you and save you. Where did the idea for that come from? Is this something that people really do, or did you just think it up?
I just thought it up. Originally, I had wanted to lie down at the side of the road, knowing that eventually some law officer would come over and attempt to revive me and sort of coax me back into my life, and that they would have a gun and a badge, and they would kind of adopt me in that moment. But it's really dirty next to Rose, so I morphed it into this.
Okay, and how did this character speak to you? What did it drag out from your personal life?
There was two things particularly about Victor that got to me. One was I felt like a lot of my friends were like this, that I turned around at a certain age and I was tremendously comfortable in a kind of sexual world and a sexual relationship, and I was even comfortable kind of going through the motions of romantic life, and in a way that I believed them, but I really, in retrospect, I think they were all designed just to keep my sexual life busy. And then when it came time to actually kind of combine sexuality and intimacy, that I was bereft, and that I had no facility for that, and that I was dysfunctional, and it was kind of it was, it was very manifested in Victor as, he can have sex with everyone in the hospital, but he can't be intimate. And it feels kind of like some almost Greek, like it's like Midas. He can't hug anybody, without turning them to gold. And that was the thing that I felt I'd never seen,
Mhm.
and that I wanted to see. And what was it? Oh, okay, thank you. The other thing that about Victor is that Victor has developed a persona and an image of himself as evil, and that he's a con man, and that he is participating in relationships with people that he is secretly not really participating in. He has a secret out on them. He knows he's conning these people, and that he uses that kind of image of himself that has no expectations on it, and that is some kind of sub-being as a way to hide, and that he's comfortable in that kind of self-loathing shell. And that what really terrifies him is the idea of being held accountable and goodness, and that it takes someone else kind of forcing him into a place where he has to consider his own goodness for him to actually consider that something that he's comfortable wearing. And that actually also hit a big nerve for me.
Why is that? What was in your own personal life that spoke to you?
Unless you have a couple of hours and a license for therapy, I'm not going to be able to grant you those personal
Or a
details.
Vicodin. Do you
Fair
have a
enough.
Do you have a Vicodin? You know what? If you have some ecstasy, I'll tell you everything. But I don't know why. It just felt painfully familiar.
Okay, fair enough. I do think we're out of time.
Thanks so much.
So yeah,
Thanks a lot.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a good day.
Thanks so much to my guests, Clark Gregg and Chuck Palahniuk. Clark Gregg is an actor and a writer, and now he is a director. He has adapted Chuck Palahniuk's acclaimed novel Choke for the screen. Choke is being released by Fox Searchlight Pictures this Friday. That's the 26th of September. Definitely be sure to check it out. It's a very funny, witty movie. It's got Sam Rockwell, Angelica Houston, Kelly MacDonald, Brad William Henke, and John Bobo in it. So that's Choke. Check it out. It actually won the special jury prize for Best Work by an Ensemble Cast at Sundance. So, it's pretty good. It's got a pretty solid soundtrack by some indie darlings, Radiohead, Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah, Fiery Furnaces, Ben Queller, and Twilight Singers. That about wraps up the show for tonight. I'm Chaim Lazaros. Thanks for listening to Arts and Answers. If you like what you heard tonight, drop me an email. It's life@beginnorth.com. Life@beginnorth.com. That's my personal email address. That'll go right to me. If you're wondering why it's life, you can check out superheroesanonymous.com, a little side project of mine. That's superheroesanonymous.com if you want to get involved and become a superhero in your own little way. The music that we're featuring tonight on the show is the Dandy Warhols, because last night we had a little interview with them. My good friend and co-producer Brendan McQueen chatted backstage with them at Terminal 5 where they played last Wednesday night. So hence we're going to take you out with another Dandy Warhols track, appropriately Get Off off their CD 13 Tales from Urban Bohemia. Please drop me a line, give us a call, 212-854-9920. Tell us how we're doing. Thanks for tuning in. Please stay tuned for Caribe Latina coming up right here on 89.9 FM in New York, WKCR.